Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, very good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
So I will request everybody to come on camera, please. So we will see how many of you have joined. So I think we will wait for another few minutes. So I'll say only 23 participants. So others, please come on camera, please. Hello, everybody. Please come on camera. Please switch on your camera, please. So I'm only able to see QNX and HS system, Raichur. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So let me just check with you. I hope all of you are fine because it's been raining quite heavy in Karnataka. So I hope everybody is fine and all your family members and your relatives. Hello, everybody. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I hope all of you are prepared for basically September 18, basically for the presentation and the assignment on the smart city. So any questions? So let me share my screen. And this is basically the assignment that I will be looking at. Let me be able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is what I will be looking at from all of you on the 18th, the presentation, basically the assignment on the smart city. So what are the external factors, right? So the geographic and the logistic, etc. For example, you have seen, I've shown you multiple smart cities, like Neom, for example, is in Saudi Arabia. So it is basically in the deserts of Saudi Arabia, right? So why they have creating this smart city, the Neom city? Because the crude oil, which they're dependent, the main revenue is going to, after a few years, it will not be there. So they want to create this smart city for the all industries and basically to come there, and so they can generate revenue, right? Now, there are some smart cities where there are very good logistics. Now, what are the logistics that you are planning in your smart city? Basically, the sensors, the IoT, and using the artificial intelligence, how you're going to plan it. Next is basically what I'm looking at, basically the internal factors, the IT infrastructure and the IT. And here I want you to check on the cybersecurity, how you're planning to secure your smart city, right? These are all the things you need to put in. Next is how the IT infrastructure will be done, how smart your city will be there, right? So based on this, you have to prepare the presentation. Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes,
are you able to
sir.
hear me? Hello?
Sir, audible.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. we can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Hello, are you able to hear me? Can you speak, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
sorry, I think some problem with my headset, so I've now removed my headset. So is it okay? Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, coming to this, basically, I want how your IT infrastructure you are planning to build, right? So you have to provide on that in your smart city. For example, how you are planning to have your basically the sensors, the IoTs you want to have. You based on your artificial intelligence, what are the activities you want to perform in your smart city? And also, if you want to have some manufacturing hub, then how the manufacturing hub will be connected using maybe digital twin, or basically how you want to help that manufacturing. And also, what are the kind of services smart city is going to provide, right? So the presentation should have these factors embedded in your presentation. Next is whether your smart city is developed in developed countries or it is in developing countries. See, if it is a developed country, like you have seen the Owen city in Japan, that is the Toyota city. So it is different, or maybe the Neom city will be different, or if it is a smart city that is planned, like maybe the Bhopal or Ranchi or Bhubaneswar. Of course, those are part of our developing nations. So the infrastructure will be different. And you have to basically mention where your smart city is located, right? And based on that, you also need to provide how you plan to develop this smart city, right? If it is already in developed nation, then already you have got a lot of basically the infrastructure available. But if it is in a developing nation, then you need to create those infrastructure for the smart city also. Next is energy. In case of energy, it has to be a sustainable energy. Either you can use the green hydrogen or you can use solar or hydro. So that I leave it to you, how you plan to do it, right? So you can provide how your smart city will be sustainable in energy, so that no fossil fuel is required for your smart city, because fossil fuel will have a life maybe another 40 years, 50 years, but after that there will be no fossil fuel. Next is finance, that is most critical. Now, the source and type of income to become sustainable, right? If your smart city is not a sustainable city, what will happen? You have seen the last session, that is there are a lot of ghost cities in China, right? It became a ghost city, or it will become a big loss, and then they won't be able to sustain. Now, I have got a question to all of you. So let me unshare my screen. Okay. Now, a question to all of you. The question is, why do you think that the smart city is beneficial, or the smart city is not beneficial to the society or to the community. So please raise your hand or please let me know your views. As you can see in the smart city, there's a huge investment that is planned around $41 trillion, right? In the coming years. So I just want to have your opinion. What do you think? Is the smart city you think is a good idea or to implement, or you think it is not a good idea? So please raise your hand and please let me know. I want you to speak and provide your views. Hello, students. Hello. I'm not able to hear any of you.
Yes, sir.
Can you please unmute and let me know your views? Please
Yes,
be on the
sir.
camera. Yeah, please be in the camera and please let me know what is your thought process. If it is a good, give me some points why it is good. And if you think it is not good to have a smart city, give me some pointers why you think it is not good to have a smart city.
Hello, sir. This is Sriram Kamal from Chestin Patakundapura.
Yes. So can you please become on camera, please? Please switch on camera.
Yes, sir. The internet connection is not stable, sir.
Okay.
So I'm unable.
Yes.
Yes,
Please let me know.
smart city actually beneficial to our society, sir, because it will be like pollution-free city. So we are using the sustainable energy source. It will help the our like nation to get rid of problems like global warming and many things. So it's also beneficial to our country because the environment, which will be like good for the people and economy also, it will be beneficial to our country, sir.
Okay. Any other points, Sriram? Any other points, Sriram?
Yes,
Or any other ones want to say some other points?
yes, sir. From if it's right to you are going
Yes, sir. With smart city, we can transfer a amount from one country to another country, and with the help of online system, we can attend the classes online by sitting on the home and anywhere. And with the help of smart city only, we can transfer amount from like a phone pay, Google Pay, Geo. That's all. And we can recharge our amount by sitting in a home, and we can pay bill, like a bill, etc. It is smart city. It's really very helpful to us. By before smart city, we are standing in the queue and waiting for a line in a line to pay bills and etc. to recharge our mobile phones, etc. Because of smart city, it's very helpful to us.
Okay. So using the Internet of Things also, you can help to minimize your efforts, right? The IoT. And of course, you can convergence of technologies you can use. So think through what are the things you can use, what are the apps you can use to monitor that. So that will also helpful. So any other views?
Sir, high-speed internet facility to all corporate companies as well as internet IT developer companies are very much important, sir. Next, road connectivity is also important. Water facilities, all high-end infrastructure should be there in the smart city, sir.
You're absolutely right, because that is the basic minimum thing. If you do not have the high-speed connectivity, then whatever you are doing will not be able to sustain. Now, with the 5G coming in, right, you need to have a high-speed connectivity. And of course, water is one of the bare minimum thing. You need to have a sustainable water also, because without water, the large city will not able to manage. So any other views from your side?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, this is Ravi
Yes.
from Vasari Computers, Bellary.
Yes. Yeah, Ravi, tell me.
Sir, benefits of smart city is provide a better transportation services like if you have better traffic management, ability to track public transportation and serve a citizen better with the constant information and low price. And next, safe communications. A safer communications, a smart city will be have the most technological advanced, and it will be a lesser criminal activity. And the smart city is provided efficiently public services like smart cities will be technologies and the necessary tools to cut down on our usage of natural resources and decrease waste of water and electricity, etc. Without having to cut down any factors and reduce the environmental footprint like using the energy source and decrease the depends on non-renewable energy source. These will be helps to decrease the economical impact we have on the environment and more digital equity. The people must have access to high-speed internet like 4G and nowadays we improve the 5G also and using the Wi-Fi in local areas in the city, like provided a lot of shopping malls also provided Wi-Fi internet to the customers to increase the customer feedback and economical development opportunities. In these smart cities, the economical development opportunities and attract new residents and improve the business sense to entire city. It will access to open the data platform information also. And next, improvement of infrastructure. In this smart city, the government goes to focus on the to construct the new infrastructure like provided it is helpful to the public also. For example, the government goes to infrastructure the public infrastructure like hospitals, bus terminals, and it is and the government next.
You need to think through how you're going to have that connected, right? Your bus stand to your hospital to all other public places, right? You think through
Yes, sir.
when you're creating a smart city, how you're going to have. Next is you think through how you're going to basically see using the smart metering, smart electricity, the lamps, which basically consume less energy, right? So your electricity bill for the overall absolutely may come down. So using the new basically processes, right? Or the instruments or IoT, right? How you can reduce the overall consumptions of your energy. Energy overall consumption comes down. Of course, your electricity will also come down. Similarly, the pollution. If you have basically renewable-driven cars or buses, you don't have any pollution. So you will have basically better health in the smart city, right? Just think through on those lines. Very good, Ravi. So any other person?
Yes, sir.
Any other
I-
points? Sir?
Hello,
I
sir.
want-
Hello.
Yes, yes. Yeah, tell me.
Hello.
We are the infrastructure and methodology. So it will provide lakhs of employment for the people, sir. It will be beneficial for our economy also.
Yes, that's true. If it is done properly, of course, it will have a benefit. And there are also cons. Maybe if anybody want to talk about the cons also, that is also most. You can raise your hand or you can just come
Hello.
and let me know. Right? What are the if you think the
Hello.
smart city is not required and it has got a lot of cons, right? You can basically we are just wanted to brainstorm, so you can point out a view you can provide also. Yeah, please carry on.
Hello.
Yes, yes, I am able to hear you. Yes.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon.
Sir, good afternoon. My name is Rajshekar from Kavita Computers, Gulbarga.
Yes, yes, tell me.
Sir, are you getting my voice?
Yes, I am able to hear you.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, already you said that regarding when we come to the point of China, the whole thing depends on how the people or the individuals accept it and how they consider the smart city things, sir. Actually, there are lots of pros and cons. When I talk about cons, we can go with the smart dustbin where lots of energy can be saved, sir, and theft will be less, and everything will be automated in this matter, sir. And interconnection between transport and all the things will be monitored, activities can be traced, no adding on to this, creation of safer communities and improve urban transportation and no environment through various systems we can no maintain hygienic, and till people use it effectively it won't be a success, all the effort no will go in a vain, sir, actually. So adding on to this, we can also implement like smart parking and intelligent traffic management and all these things. Lack of public awareness and social responsibilities and building and maintaining infrastructure is literally a bit costlier, I think so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, Rajshekhar. Any other points from
Uh,
you, or can we
no,
move on to the next student?
Hello,
no,
sir.
Yeah.
Hello,
Give
sir.
your point of view. Yeah. Give your point of view. Yes, Bindu. Yeah.
Hello, sir. This is Bindu from SSC Haveri, sir.
Yes, tell me, Bindu.
Better transportation, sir. Smart cities means smart technology that does not amount the degradation of the environment, sir. For example, smart cities change in the modes of transportation through electric cars, flying cars, and vehicles that would run on hydrogen energy, sir.
So you are favor of a smart city, or you are basically not favor of a smart city?
Smart city, sir.
Okay, good. So give me your points. So these are the points. Any other points, Bindu? Hello. Yeah. Any other points? I think we have lost Bindu. Any other want to mention? Any other points?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
This is Vajida from SS Systems.
Yes, tell me.
I wanted to tell about advantages of smart city. One of the most important advantages is it reduces environmental footprints, sir.
Okay.
With
Any
the
other points?
rise of greenhouse effects, and debris in our oceans and trash in our streets, smart cities are fighting back to reduce negative effects on the environment, and energy efficient buildings, air quality sensors, and renewable energy resources are providing cities with new tools to shrink their ecological impacts, sir. And deploying air quality sensors around a city, for instance, can provide data to track peak times of low air quality and identify pollution causes and deliver data analytics. Officials need to develop action plans, and these sensors can help for foundation of reducing air pollution in even the most populated cities.
Okay, good. So
And
very good. So yeah,
one of
any other
the
points?
disadvantage of a smart city, yes, sir. Disadvantage of city is it may lead away towards social discrimination and lot of limited privacy is there, sir, issues, sir, in that.
Can you explain further on this? Why you telling that? If you can explain on the cons.
Cons means, sir, it is difficult we have to track we will keep a record of tracking, sir, in this using sensors. So it has a less privacy.
Okay, so you're thinking the privacy of the people will be gone because there will be full tracking of the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. So anybody want to basically say for or against what she has told?
Yes, sir. To add on to this,
can you please come on camera, switch on a camera, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So to add on to this, I think we'll have a lots of data which will be collected on the cloud. So it will be very difficult to handle since now many small vendors are using, or many big vendors are using, there is a closed form of group of people who have been using now, and that itself is in the count of survey. When we measure it in 2019, end of 2019, it was around somewhere 5 zettabytes or 5 million zettabytes of data which was collected at that time. So when we compare it to 2022, I think we are far ahead of this. So it might consume a lot of data, wherein we might face a lot of difficulty in storage and to retrieve it also in some matter. To add on to that, the point which Vajida mentioned.
Just to add on to your point, there are huge capacities getting built around the world, and there are a lot of research is happening. So maybe in future you don't require servers. Maybe it's different, creating a data lake and using the data lake and basically retrieving the data at much faster space. So a lot of research is going on using basically very smart chips that will basically have the huge capacity to store the data itself also. So of course, around the world, there is basically huge servers that are getting built because people are trying to move those data into the data lake, into the cloud, right? And in future, if you know, that is basically going to be the main kind of business where who has the maximum number of data or basically the information, are they going to basically have the business model on that? So that is what the future is also going to look. It is not basically what you think is that the smart city of sensors, for example, right? If you take CRED, right? The CRED where we pay the credit card bills, it's smart, right? What is the CRED model? Currently, they're at loss, right? But the model is basically to get as much of information that is available. And then basically creating that information into a kind of a huge data lake, or basically, and later they can use that information, right, to earn further revenue. So that is basically the trend or mega trend that is coming up in future.
No, sir, the CRED model, what you are telling, my analysis shows that model, there is no problem, but the amount of revenues they had sent on the advertising, and on a technical that was so heavy that they could not get the revenue in return. So sir, I think technology, we leave a technology at bay, but when we start spending a huge amount of advertising money, because what I feel is that when we did this case study in our campus, we found out that many of the people could not connect with the CRED advertising as against the CRED technology base. They didn't explain the technology. They were basically explaining how people will get benefited on the credit card usage pattern. So I think, sir, don't you think so that this is where when we don't advertise the technology and we go into a business model part of it which has no connect, then it is a bigger money sort of this. You spend a money without any proper revenue model, then the problem happens. When technology, with technology, you have to take the revenue model also, no sir, the marketing part of it.
Sir, I will basically digress a little bit. Sir, as you know, in case of McDonald's, selling burger, we think is the main business. Actually, that is not the main business, sir.
No, it's not
the
a
main business.
Correct.
Is real estate and toys, right?
Yes, that's where
so
they make
people
big
doesn't
money.
know. So in case of CRED, sir, they are at least in the loss. But people think they're helping paying the credit card. So the actual business is getting all the information in credit card, sir. You got a huge tons and tons of information.
Yes, you get the data. Correct.
You get the data, and with the data, sir, now you know the trend, what they're purchasing, right? Then they can basically have the revenue model where they will focus marketing on you. It will be happening, right? So that is the future model they're creating, sir. It is basically what you can say. It's just people are not understanding, but actually,
but when you see a disconnect in the advertisement, sir, people are not getting that by the usage of the data, you can do wonders. You can have your
sir, that is in the future. That will be coming a few years later, sir. Not now, sir. So that is
do you think that the advertisement model which we are giving, the advertisement model which they are spending, it's a huge advertisement budget which they have kept. Are they able?
Hello, sir. Sir, your voice is breaking, sir. Sir, I can't hear you. Others able to hear, sir?
No, sir. Even we can't hear, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So, sir, my point is that I was not clear. To be very honest with you, when you took up this CRED model, I was not clear looking at these ads and all. So we tried to do a case study also. And even the students there in the campus, IIM campus also, they were telling it's a sort of a dissociative advertisement which they gave, which led to a huge revenue loss. So since you are covering this case, so I want to talk to you, sir, the amount of data which is going to be the beneficiary to most of the people, that was not coming out clear from the ad. So don't you think so? It was a deceptive sort of an ad which was saying something and their objective was something totally different.
Sir, you are absolutely right. The objective is absolutely different. Their objective is basically they're spending huge amount of money, which they've got it from the venture capitalist. Right?
Correct.
So they're pumping in the money. So actually, it's not from their own pocket, the promoter's
pocket.
No,
that's true. That's true. It is their
so
VC.
Next, sir, what they're trying to do, of course, currently they are at huge loss. But what they're trying to do for future, sir, the people, they're attracting the people, giving credit points or some cash benefits.
Okay. So basically, they are on a data upheaval.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. That is going to be the future model, and that is the they are going to build on that. And later on, they're going to the revenue will increase on that model, sir.
Okay. So, sir, you feel that it has any linkage with the smart city project which you have given?
No. I just wanted to tell about the smart city. Maybe for finance, I just want to tell the students.
Yeah.
Maybe it's city called Kyoto in Japan.
Okay.
Basically, it's an education city, right? Where a lot of students around the world goes there.
Yes.
Now, if you know the Kyoto city in Japan is almost facing a bankruptcy.
Yes, Kyoto is totally into bankruptcy. Correct.
Yes. So, do you know any reason? It's a very smart city, and the government has basically spent a lot of money. Why that city is going into almost a bankruptcy? Now, students, I just want to tell you, in your finance model, right? That's why when I was sharing, I want basically you to have in the smart city a sustainable finance, right? So that your city is basically can self-sustain and should not go into a big loss and later it become a bankrupt. Now, coming to Kyoto city, basically what has happened, it is created to have basically it's huge number of tourists come into that city, right? Since
Kyoto is the same model. Sir, Kyoto is the same model which Japan has built on the religious tourism.
No, sir. It is basically kind of a where model they've created. They wanted to still retain the old Japan, right?
Okay.
So they have not have the high rises. So they still have those building which are basically on the not tall buildings. So generally, if you have high rises, you can have a higher revenue of municipal tax. Next, sir, is that these are basically the students, and students in Japan, they don't have to pay the tax. So as such, the what has happened, sir, the amount of tax collection from the property tax is very, very low. Next is that they have created a lot of public properties, right? Monuments and this thing. Now, based on that, of course, you cannot have any money, and they have taken borrowed huge amount of money. For example, they have currently borrowed more than 100 billion yen. And so they have created basically misallocation of finance. For example, they have created Tozai subway, right? Where they expected almost 184,000 people to come daily into the subway. And that is before the pre-pandemic, right? During the pre-pandemic also, people were not coming, very, very less coming. So it is all miscalculation. And of course, now the pandemic, people are not coming. And it is based on the tourists. So tourists are not coming. Next, sir, basically what has happened, they've created a hall, right? Kyoto Hall, City Hall, and they spent huge amount of money, right? And it almost took 4 years. And that they have spent around 15.9 billion yen, and took almost 4 years. In fact, the analysts, they say it can be done in 1/5 the cost. And it is connected to the subway where people are not even using it. So when you're creating a smart city, you have to think through how you want to create it, because ultimately the ROI has to come from it. Right?
So that is one of the reasons. That is one of the reasons the Chinese smart city has totally defunct.
Yes, a lot of they have invested. That is basically to grow their GDP, sir. See, in fact, if you invest in infrastructure, sir, it gives the highest boom, because when you invest in infrastructure, you will have cement, you will have steel. The people who are working on that will get wages, right? And on the paying of the wages, they will buy FNC products, clothes, and this thing, right? So as such, the whole economy in that place goes up. The GDP goes up.
Okay.
Now, problem is that if you build too much on that, and if you don't have buyers, then what will happen?
Yes. So that means
that is the biggest problem in China.
The human capital part of it is very important. Whenever you are making a smart city, you have to also see that the people should consume the amenities which is there in the smart city.
Sir, you are absolutely right. Now, sir, I just wanted to take the students.
Why I'm discussing, why we are having a deep discussion for the benefit of the student is because I was told that students have been given the smart city project. So let them not make a project downloaded from the internet. Let them also see the pros and cons which you are explaining today, to them when they are making this project. So your evaluation, sir, when you are doing, you also, sir, this time, last two evaluations, sir, you did whatever they presented, you evaluated. But this time, sir, I will be highly obliged if you evaluate them on the realistic principles of a project. Like, see, anybody can have a downloaded information from the internet about a smart city and they can present it to you. But sir, students, when they are presenting this time the project, I would request, evaluate them that how realistic the project is and how the ROI will work. Let the ROI be the main central focus of the project when they are presenting, sir. What do you think, sir?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely right, sir.
Yeah, because any smart city you build up and then it should not go the China way. As we know, it has all become ghost city today. All the Chinese projects have become ghost cities and they're bleeding as an economy today. So that should not happen. So when students, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Students, please understand why me and Sabyasachi, we are having a discussion. Today we are having a discussion and L2 also is there who are guiding the students in this smart city. L2, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Saujanya, everybody is there? Shweta,
Yes, sir.
everybody is there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So Shweta, Ashwin, Saujanya, Abhilash, all of you, Vaibhav, you should, when you are guiding the student, because this is going to be very tough. This time the evaluation of September. Sir, don't mind. I'm taking 2 minutes. Sabyasachi, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
So I'm just laying down the principles of evaluation. This time when the evaluation will happen, let me tell you, Sabyasachi sir is going to evaluate not only just your PPT. See, last two evaluation, he had evaluated you in a PPT and he had seen that everybody is speaking. But this time the evaluation will be on the realistic angle of the project and also the ROI as he's explaining today. So today and in the next session, please be very careful, listen to his session because he's going to tell you what is his evaluation process. Any city which you build up, it doesn't give you an ROI, is a project. So when he's evaluating you, he's also going to evaluate you how viable your project of smart city going to be. Correct me, sir. Correct me if I'm making them understand correct.
Yes, sir. In fact, sir, I'm sharing in the screen, basically the last point about the finance.
Yeah, finance. No problem, sir. You go on because I will be moving out. Now I am having my own sessions in the next 15 minutes. I thought just I will discuss with you and give them a feel of, what the evaluation is going to be. So this evaluation, I would suggest L2, L3 should really help the students. And in return, I'll start evaluating the L2 also. And I would request, sir, this time when you're evaluating Sabyasachi, sir, you also ask franchisee wise, who is your L2? Sir, L2 is a person, is a teacher who is, helping them in all the assignments and helping them, and L3 is helping them in all the, practical things which they are making. So, sir, you ask them the L2 and L3 and evaluate them also, sir, this time. I would request you. Please take that. Shweta will give you a template where you will get a name of which is the L2 who is guiding them. So from this month, I'm also evaluating the L2, sir, for future projects. So kindly, sir, you evaluate the L2 also, because sometimes, sir, it is seen that the students are giving a wonderful presentation, but I don't know how much help they have got from the L2 and the L3 for that project, or students are on their own. So from this project, Smart City project, I want my L2 and L3 also to take a due, responsibility of making this project into a success story. So, sir, I would help you. I would need your help, Sabyasachi, sir, to evaluate my L2, L3 faculties also, sir, from this month onwards.
Sure, sir.
Right, sir? Right, sir. Right, sir. L2, L3, are you hearing it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please. And franchisee heads, your star of the month is dependent totally now from this month. Not only your students, but your L2 and L3. So they are all responsible because we are making it now tougher and tougher. After this month, your complete theory will be over. Now October is just your revision. So that will be more on assignments and projects. Okay. So I think Sabyasachi sir, thanks a lot. You please continue. I'm very sorry I entered in between and we had
No,
the
sir.
discussion, but sir, please carry on. Sir, evaluation, please make it realistic how well they are marketing the smart city and how well the ROI is coming. Mainly the finance and marketing angle, you have a look, sir. Please. This
Sure,
is my
sir.
request for you, sir. If it is, and any other angle, sir, you are the boss. Any other angle, if you want to add on, please tell them. But, sir, make it a very robust evaluation from this month, sir. Because every day they are supposed to do a project, every day they're supposed to do an assignment. So I would like that, sir, this time onwards, you do a very robust evaluation. And if somebody is not having a teamwork working, and if all of them are not presenting, please give them negative marking, sir, from this month onwards, sir. The list will be there with you, sir. Shweta will be sending you the list, sir.
I not received the list. As I
No,
told you,
she will
I
send you,
need
sir.
basically,
Because
yeah, so
uh,
I need the
no,
list of the teams and the name of
and
the
sir,
team
she will also
members.
tell you the L2, L3 list also. L2,
Sure,
L3.
that will be good.
Ashwin, are you there? I think he was not well. He was in the hospital. Okay. So Shweta, Ashwin, and Harinakshi, ma'am, kindly have a look at it. Okay. Sir, thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. I'm very sorry I entered in between. Thank you, sir. Carry on. I will see the remaining part of the recording tomorrow and give you the feedback, sir. Right,
Sure.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All the best, sir.
Thank you. So, student, I will just show you about Turkey. Now, we have shown you about China, right? Now, what is happening in Turkey?
Sir, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, sir, you have mentioned few points in the slide saying that all these points should be added. Whether should we take into consideration like all the points should be covered, or just focus on one area, so that it should be only on finance or development kind, or because we have two teams around, so that we can one person can focus on one thing and the other person can focus on another point.
Yeah, the finance, of course, sustainable finance you have to provide, but regarding the technology or how you planning your smart city, right? That I leave it to you. So I just given some of the criteria. You think on the external, internal, IT infrastructure, how you planning your IT infrastructure, because here in the smart city, most important is the IT infrastructure, right? And whether it's how you're having your sustainable energy, right? So those are the things you think through, and I leave it to you, basically the out of the box thinking from your team, right? And how they want to present it, but at least it should touch base.
Yeah, got it, sir. So if we are talking about IT infrastructure, so we can take considerably two examples of what we are going to implement, like one kind of what I say, like any object which is being used in the smart city, or how is it being carried out, what are the functionalities, what are its cons, pros, like that.
Yeah, how your smart city you are planning. It's not pros and cons. How you planning to have that smart city. Now, once you implement your smart city, right? How you're going to generate finance from it also. The revenue, that is the income.
Okay.
For example, you have got smart parking, right? You have the parking fees. Just giving an example.
Got it, sir.
So based on that, it has to be sustainable, right? ROI has to come. So that is how you have to provide in your presentation, because more, as you can see, if we don't have a funding, right? Ultimately a sustainable funding for that smart city, what will happen? It will become a bankrupt. Like I was talking about the Kyoto city. Now they're going they got huge amount of loan they have taken.
Sir, but in that case, sir, I have a point to discuss. So in Kyoto city, what happened? They were majorly expecting the travelers, but during the pandemic, nobody traveled, so they went into bankruptcy. But how about China? They didn't expect any kind of travelers.
I'm coming to that. Now, if you're coming to that, one is tourist, right?
Yes.
Next is basically they have very less revenue generating options. Now, due to tourist attraction, they have not have the high rises, right? Since they don't have the high rises, they have got the buildings which are basically few story building. So the revenue generation is very, very less. Next is that they have got huge number of student community from which they don't take taxes. Third is basically they don't have a model where basically they are able to generate revenue, because now they have spent, for example, I think the city hall where they spent huge amount of money. Now they have taken a loan of 100 billion yen. Now they have to pay the loan for it, interest. Now they have created cartoon characters. Now, if you know, they have created almost 140 cartoon characters. And there is one cartoon called Kyuno, I think Sukansa or Sukasa, something like that. And they spent for that cartoon character around 2.5 million yen. Right? Now, unnecessarily, they have spent so much of huge amount of money to promote tourism. Right? Now, if you want to have those kind of cartoon characters around the cities, you spend so much of money, you need to have a revenue also generating from it. Tourist is one area, you're absolutely right. For last 2 years, the tourist has not. Just to let you know, for last 30 years, they're going deficit. So it is not only tourist. So actually, if you go and you can search in the Google, you can find for last 30 years, they're basically have got deficit funding. Now, if you go for almost so many years, 2 years, 3 years, they can issue some bonds, they can manage, right? Of course, I'm hearing a lot of you are interested in finance. I will give you some touches of finance also, so that at least you are also know how finance is done. I'll give you some here. Now, maybe I will just show you about what is happening in case of Turkey, right? So that at least you can understand it's not only China, right? Let me give you a glimpse of what is happening in Turkey. So I will come to Sri Lanka after that. Let me go to Turkey. Yeah. Let me know once you're able to see my screen.
And fleeing to other countries. Why? Inflation, which currently stands at more than 21% according to government statistics. Why? Inflation, which currently stands at more than 21% according to government statistics. The US inflation rate, by comparison, is at a 39-year high of 6.8%, nearly twice as much as a global average of 3.5%.
Hiç ben bu kadarına rezalet bir hayat görmedim. Akşam yatıyorum, sabah kalkıyorum zam.
Unlike the US, Turkey is an emerging market. It's seen 2 decades of broad economic growth and an expanding middle class, but now the lira is in free fall as the country reckons with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's unorthodox economic approach, which is contrary to widely accepted inflationary wisdom. As central banks around the world respond to a stronger than expected pickup in inflation amid economic recovery from the pandemic, there are lessons to be learned from Turkey's approach. In a nutshell, to prevent the economy from overheating, central banks can increase the cost of borrowing by raising interest rates, which curbs the rate of inflation. And this is precisely what is happening in most other emerging market central banks, to great effect. But Turkey's central bank has done the opposite. Under pressure from President Erdogan, who has invoked a religious prohibition on usury in his argument against high interest rates, the rate has been cut 3 times since mid-September, which has torpedoed the value of the lira. A rapidly weakening currency pushes up the cost of key imports like food and energy. This is already hurting the Turkish people's bank accounts.
Panik havasındalar sürekli hane halkı. Biz burada çok kalabalık bir semtte bu işi yaptığımız için sürekli yastık altındaki paralarını kullanıyorlar.
In an October survey, more than 80% of the Turkish public said the government was handling the economy badly. The crisis has prompted protests, mostly from union members, and calls for Erdogan's government to resign. Turkish banks to encourage an export-based economy similar to Japan and Taiwan.
So here, as you can see, what is the situation in Turkey, right?
He and other
Any
officials have insisted that the currency fluctuations are
So Turkey, what it did, it basically decreased the interest rate in the bank. So people can borrow huge amount of money. And that accounts for huge inflation what Turkey is going through. So mismanagement of finance, and without understanding the finance, if people start playing on that, right, it has got a disaster impact on that country. Now, I will take you and walk you through some of the countries that is really in the big concerns, right? Let me show you. So please let me know once you're able to see the screen. This is Sri Lanka. You know in Sri Lanka what has happened, right? One, of course, is the tourism. There is no tourism during the COVID times. And they've taken huge loan from China with unsustainable development. What is happening in Pakistan? They are getting $1.8 billion from the IMF, but out of which they're paying around $450K to USA to purchase F-16 spare parts. It will not help their economy. $13.5 billion is just equivalent to maybe 1 or 2 months of import. I'm showing you some around the world, some of the countries, because of not proper financial management, how they suffer. Now they started charging money for the concessions they're giving. A huge turmoil can see again Turkey. With the food prices rising around the world, Turkey is going to face a major problem. This is another neighboring country of India. Basically, huge war is happening, internal war, the crisis happening. absolutely the whole economy is better. Egypt is again going to face a huge problem because, as you know, they do not grow much agricultural product. They have to import. And with the Russia-Ukraine war going on, the food prices is going up over the sky, and there is a drought in China. So they are also going to come into the market buying agricultural food. The agricultural product will go over the roof. The prices. This is in Asia Pacific. See, till the pandemic, it was one of the highest growing country. Now see what is the situation. If you do not have a sustainable finance, right, then it becomes going to be a problem for the smart city you're trying to do. This is in Africa, and you can see the situation of Zimbabwe. Once upon a time, they used to have a very good cricket team, and now everything is lost. Huge inflation. So you can see the situation, right? Now, any question from your side?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes,
I
please.
could not, first of all, I could not leave. First of all, congratulations for making me glued to this presentation. I could not leave even when I wanted to. Sir, I have a question. Now, you had shown about 10 to 12 economies, right?
Yes, sir.
10 to 12 economies. And sir, if you really, what my understanding is, when I see these 10 to 12 economies, everywhere, one thing is very common, that they had invested a huge amount of money in technology. But due to the unsustainable finance with model which was not seen, or they did not predict the future, how it's going to change, even the technology could not save them. So that means investing in technology. For example, you just said Pakistan had some trillion, economy they've taken from World Bank, and out of that they had spent some 50% on F-16 from US, right? Which is very
Yes, sir.
high.
They're going to take
high
$1.8 billion.
aircraft. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Which is very
They
high
have
technical
requested 6
aircraft.
billion, but they're only going to get 1.8, and out of which 450K or 450 million, right?
Yes.
Almost half a million
$500,000
going to
has
spend.
gone on an aircraft purchase, which
Sir,
whether
spare
they are
parts,
going
not
to
even
use it or
aircraft.
not.
F-16 spare parts. Yes, sir.
Spare parts for F-16, right? Which
Yes,
is
sir.
not being used until and unless on a war zone situation. And they should realize their sustainable finance, that if they go into a war, anyway they will be a killed city. They cannot afford a war at all. So you are investing on something. Please understand, it is not. They have invested on something which is not defense upgradation. then invest on something which they can safeguard themselves from war. But if there is a war in Pakistan, Pakistan will totally be evaporated. Correct me, sir. The economy is such. They don't have
Yes,
food
sir.
to eat, they don't have fuel to run, they don't have anything. So instead of putting that money in the basic necessity, in the upgradation of the day-to-day technology, they have used in a technology of defense. So many a times where you are investing money in a technology upgradation is not right. So all these examples, sir, which you have given, like for example, Sri Lanka also, sir, if you have been, I have been, it was totally relying 80% on tourism. But they did not see, they did not look at and maybe a alternate tourism, which to some extent India has seen of a hybrid model. So I'm not telling India is really a developed economy, but sometimes our, politicians and the people who made the white paper on technology, they should also understand that simply making a technology upgradation will not do. You have till you don't have a financial sustainable model and followed by a geopolitical, polity which really backs it up. Correct me, sir, if my analysis is right. I
Yes, sir.
might be
You're
wrong
absolutely right. They have
because
gone
I
for
am
infrastructure with
not a
Chinese
very
huge
good
loans, sir.
politician strategist. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, so they
Carry
have
on,
got,
sir.
like
Your
Sri
take.
Lanka, they have gone for taken huge loan, right?
Yeah.
At huge interest from China to create infrastructure, which is
Yes.
itself is not a sustainable, basically model, because
And
where
at
very
this
few
point,
ships comes.
sir, I would also like to answer Saujanya's question when she had asked about China. See, we have to understand, Saujanya, China is basically a economy which is a different type of. It's not a capitalist economy. It's a pseudo-capitalist economy. It is mostly communist. Now, in a communist economy, the first thing which you see is the normal people. The thing does not affect the normal people, and they pump in money like anything without taking the capitalism into consideration. Now, this is where China felt bad. Correct me, sir. They pumped in money, made the smart city with the thinking process that all the American and the European companies are going to come and open shop there, which did not happen because of the destabilization policy again. So when the political stabilization is not there, many a times when you invest in technology, the world might not see you as an investment factor. Correct me, sir, if my analysis is right.
Yes, sir, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right, sir.
Yeah. And I hope I have answered to some extent Saujanya's question when she was asking why, China is bleeding. China is bleeding not because of the technology. China is bleeding because what my analysis goes is, it is the investment on a typical pseudo-capitalist economy mindset, which is, of a different nature. They invested money, not looking at a geography where the geography is not taking them into consideration that whether they should go for a long term 10-15 years, stay in China. Otherwise, you please understand, Saujanya, China gives a huge benefit. They don't charge you tax for 15 years. You use everything, all the facility which is there in the smart city without charging anything as tax. So that is something which China, but still the European economy and the US economy is not looking at those markets because the stabilization angle and the typical Chinese policy of taking land grabbing policy which they have is not taking them anywhere. Sir, correct me if my analysis is right, and if Saujanya, I've been able to throw some light to the question which you had asked.
Yes,
Both
sir.
of you.
And to add on to this, that
Yeah.
said they wanted to have the infrastructure done to
Yes.
basically increase the GDP, because 30% of the GDP is nothing but real estate.
Yes, absolutely real estate. Yes. So, Saujanya, have you got a light to your question which you had asked? Saujanya is there or Saujanya has left? I think she has left. Carry on, sir. Carry on.
Okay. So now, student, you have understood basically why there is an importance on finance, right? And you need to, I'll just, maybe a high level, I will just walk you through about the finance and how it is. For example, if you go and see some newspaper, right? Publication the companies do for the balance sheet, profit and loss. You need to understand what it means at high level. Why a finance is very, very important, right? If you basically invest some amount of money, you need to have some return. Otherwise, it does not become a sustainable. Now, let me just share my screen. And if you have got any question, please let me know. So Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you understand? Yes, sir. Any question? So what you understand? If I give a statement, Oil India reported 14% decrease in top line, right? In Q1 financial 14, mainly because of lower net crude oil price realization, while bottom line fell by 35% to 609 crore, right? And top line for Q1 financial 14 includes other operating income of rupees 116 crores. So what do you understand by this first statement? Anybody has got any inputs? What do you understand by this statement? Hello, students. I hope all of you read newspapers.
Are you students? Are you understanding the session today? Are you understanding the objective of the session which Sabyasachi sir is giving you today?
Yes, sir.
So he is asking you, he has given you a statement. You just answer to that statement, and this answer holds good for L2 and L3 also. If they want to chip in, they can also chip in. That when he is giving you a statement, see, you will be maximum wrong. He is there to clarify. Please answer. By now, 2 months, more than 2 months are over. So now start talking. The session is very clear. If the objective of the session is clear, please understand he's asked you a question from a statement which he has given. What is your understanding about the statement? You understand one thing, student, there is nothing right, there is nothing wrong. When you come to a discussion mode and when you come to a session where we are having a talk on geopolity as well as finance as well as technology, it's all being merged today in today's session. So you can answer. He is there to rectify and is there to correct. So I want you guys to participate. Please carry on.
Yes, so this is Altaf level 2 from SS system Raichur.
I can't hear you. Can you please repeat? Can you please speak a little loudly near the microphone?
So this is Altaf level 2, and what I understood on this Oil India slide is since the prices of the crude oil has come down, eventually the revenue when they sell the oil will also come will become low. Whereas they can't generate much income compared to the previous quarter. So that's what I understand on the first point.
Yes, you are right. The prices of crude has come down. Right now, of course, the crude prices is high. So the oil companies like ONGC and Oil India is making bumper profit. But poor, our basically like Indian Oil, HP, or Bharat Petroleum is making huge loss. If you know, last quarter, they made a loss of 18,000 crore rupees for the last 3 months. That is from when? April to June. And HPCL has made a loss of around 10,000 crores. If you go to and see the news, right? So here I given a case where if you see the volatility of basically of your revenue model, if the crude prices comes down, then ONGC and Oil India, or basically those companies around the world, they are managing, their revenue will come down. And when the revenue comes down, what happens? Their bottom line also come down. Now think on this line. The revenue has only fallen by 14%, whereas their bottom line or the net profit has fallen by 35%, right? That is basically a finance guy will be able to understand. That means the leverage, right? What we call in finance is basically that you have the leverage when your revenue is falling by only 14%, but what is happening? Your operating profit is fallen by 35%. That means you have got a lot of fixed cost, right? That means you need to manage them much, much better. Understood? Okay, now I go to the next point. Please, these are basically the thing in your smart city also you need to think through, right? If you create a lot of investment on basically fixed cost basis, now if there is a fall on the revenue for that part, for example, banking on tourism or some kind of corporate that going to come, and if they do not come, then of course you have to have a huge amount of loan repayment that is fixed, the depreciation that is fixed, right? Then your bottom line will be badly hit. Now coming to the next thing. Now, the subsidy to the marketing companies has decreased by 2%. The subsidy has affected the PAT, that is profit after tax, by almost 1,023 crores, a huge amount, right? Now, if you can see here, your subsidy is only 1,982, but your subsidy has affected the PAT by 1,123 crores. What is your understanding?
Okay, so I have a different kind of understanding on this. See, the subsidy on in India, government gives a subsidy to the end customer. For example, if 100 rupees petrol, government gives 5% of subsidy, which means the cost of 95 rupees petrol will be given to 100 rupees. Let me put the other way around. So if the cost of 95 rupees petrol, the customer will pay 95 rupees and he will get 100 rupees of petrol, where the 5 rupees of petrol is sponsored by government. That is how the subsidy works for a layman language. And when you talk about the numbers here, 1,982 crores, when if they got decreased to this particular number, so how this quarter one will be affected 1, 1, 2, 3, I'm not understanding it, because subsidy we all understand.
Yes. Yeah, so you have to understand the meaning of this.
Actually, we need to calculate EPS, exchange rate, and also.
See, yeah, that is good. When you buy the crude from outside, is the crude price also basically the forex that you are paying for that, and on that date, what is the exchange rate is there, you have to pay. Now, coming to this, if you take into the statement and the meaning, is that the revenue of the marketing companies has actually increased, right? And they are able to generate much more profit. That is why the profit has not, the PAT has not got reduced by 1982. Are you with me? Otherwise, if they were not able to generate, they manage their basically operational expenses, what we call, much better. So they are able to basically reduce the effect of the decrease of 2% of the subsidy. So there is a better operation efficiency we are seeing in this case. So this kind of statements, as you can see, going through, you have to understand the deeper meaning, how it is working for the corporate. Are you understanding? Actually, your profit would have been also been reduced by 1,982 because the subsidy is this amount, but your profit is not reduced by this amount. It's much less amount. That means there is a proper operational efficiency and there is an increase of maybe the revenue and the basically whatever the cost, the expenses, overall expenses has not increased by that level. So they're able to manage the profit better. Are you with me?
Yes, now I understood.
Yes, students.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just giving you some examples as a thought process, as a teaser to understand how you're basically financial you're going to put in your smart city, right? Next is operation performance management fell by 840 BPS. That means 8.4 points to 38.8, as employee cost as a percentage of net sales rose by 17%, and from 14%, expenses increased to 12% from 8%, while the royalty and cess payments remained flat at 32%, leading a 29% decrease in operating profits, right? Other income fell by 4% to 351.6 crores. Interest cost being negligible at rupees 0.9 crores, while depreciation cost increased by 90% to 266.5 crores. Profit before tax as a result fell by 35%. Now, what we can understand from this statement, right? So there has been basically, as you can see, that the employee cost has increased, right? The operational performance management, that is basically your operational expenses, has actually increased, right? Because increase in your expenses, and also you can see the employee cost has risen by 17%, right? Now you can see also, while the royalty and cess payment remained flat at 32%. So there is a decrease in 29% the operating profit, right? The other income also fell. So that is not helped the overall profit. And also, as you can see, there is maybe they're building a lot of assets. That's why their depreciation has also increased by 90%. So that is also affected into their profitability. So this is how we need to understand the financial statement. Now, let me just take you through the next slide. Now here, this is an interesting slide. Now this is Coal India, and this is absolutely recent, as you can see. I give you a comparison between quarter March 2022 to March 2021, and also the financial year between ended, that is the March 2022 to the March 21 that ended. Now, what is your feedback on this? What do you think? I hope all of you heard of Coal India, right?
Yes.
So what do you understand by this?
The profits have increased, sir.
Okay. So I've given you some facts. So what has happened? The production has also increased.
Yes, sir.
But if you see the amount of production that has increased, right? But your total revenue is increased much, much more. So what you understand from this? That means the coal prices has also increased, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So this is how you have to interpret any financial statement. So if you remember in the last class, somebody asked about finance, right? I'm just trying to give you on finance some of the inputs so that you have, when you go out next time and see basically a financial statement, you can basically have a much better view on that. Correct? So generally this kind of comparison is the total revenue, total expenses. This is profit and loss before tax. Then this is the tax amount, and this is the net profit. Of course, I'm not going into too deep level. There are a lot of things in between. Then minority interest is that. Then basically after that, your net profit is calculated. I'm not going into that integrities because that is, if you require, I can take you through higher integrities. But at this moment, I'm not taking you to a higher level. But at least you should understand on this. Right? So what you understand? So year to year, there is a, what is happening? Increase in profit of 37%. But if you see quarter to quarter, there's an increase of 46%, right? That means the Coal India is doing good. So whoever is thinking of buying Coal India shares can go and buy Coal India shares because the company is growing. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So it will have a much higher EPS, earning per share. If the earning per share is on the higher side, then basically based on the PE ratio, you will have a much better price in the stock market. Right? Now, coming to the expenditure, what is happening to the expenditure? Can you see? It is increased by 15%. Can you see this one?
15% increases to March 2021 to 2022.
So it has increased by only 15%, whereas the total revenue has increased by 22%, right? So that means your profit will increase more. If your revenue increases on the higher side, right? If you take in a graph, your profit is increasing on a higher scale and your expenses is not increased lower to that. The more revenue one, more is the profit, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right? So you can see finance is so easy, right? But we all struggle sometimes. But you need to have a better understanding on finance. Right? So there are basically ways how we can manage finance much, much better. And these are basically, if you have better control on the operation cost, one thing. Next is that how you can have better realization. For example, coming to your smart city, you need to think what are the revenues or types of revenue or income you need to generate and how it can increase basically month to month, year to year, right? Next is that how you can manage your cost much, much better so that it doesn't increase to the extent that is your revenue is increasing, to that you can have some amount of profit for you. And with that profit, you can plow back into your smart city for further development, right? So you can do an incremental way of creating your smart city also. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So I hope all of you have understood this. Any question?
Understand.
Any question on this Coal India? That is the latest one I'm showing you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
So total revenue has increased by 22%. So if we like reduce the expenses a bit more, so can be the profit increased, sir?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you're correct. The profit will increase.
It has
Now,
decreased.
for example, if you want, let me have an Excel sheet. If I got the Excel sheet, this is the Excel sheet, right?
Yes, sir.
Now,
So,
for example, if you think this is 2022, right? This is the revenue. This is your expenses. Now, for example, right? I decrease it, right? I basically decrease it by 20,000, right? What will happen? Now, let me have the formula. Minus this. Okay, so you can see. I think, let me just. Okay.
yes, sir.
What is happening? The profit is increasing by how much? I think this is net profit. So net profit is wait a minute. Okay. Now I have created some formulas here. So let me do one thing. I just 20,291.7. Just let's put it like this. And I just have the minus this. Okay, so this is 9,334.51, 9,334.51. Right now, I have basically 23,372.2, 23,372.2, and this is 20,291.7, something like that. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is basically I have to calculate my profit. So this minus this gives me the profit. Now, this equal to this gives me the profit. Now, this is my tax, and this is my formula. Now, the formula will be okay. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to do is that I'm going to have, for example, lesser expenses, right? Now, what will happen? What you can see? What happened to my profit?
It will be increased, sir.
Increase phenomenal, right?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So you can understand, if you can manage your cost much better, your profit increases like anything when your revenue is increasing. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Now if it is expenses is gone up, what will happen?
Loss.
Not loss, still it is profit, but you can see the margin has come down. Now
Yes,
it will
sir.
be a loss if my expenses is more. Now it will be a loss.
Yes, sir.
Of course,
Yes.
the tax will not be there. Of course, I have to remove the tax, because whenever a loss, there is no tax, right? So I can remove the tax, for example. Of course, still you've got a huge loss.
Yes, sir.
So this is how is the importance of basically finance, right? If you do not do it properly, right, you know what is going to happen. Understood? Any question?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right? So good question. So I just wanted to show you how it works. Now, anybody has got any further question on this?
No, sir.
You're absolutely crystal clear, right? Very good. Now you move on to the power grid. Another example. Now what has happened is that the capex of 17,814 crores was incurred, with 14,100 crore of assets being commissioned in financial year 2012, right? Assets are getting commissioned at a faster pace, thus improving the overall return on equity for the company. So what you understand between first two statement? Anybody want to take a try and let me know? So what you understand by the statement?
So the company has 14,100 crore of assets. So because of that, the rate of the overall equity has increased, sir.
Okay, so if you go for basically any of the power grid or this kind, once you commission basically your capex, right? The capex is nothing but the investments or the assets you're building. Only then you can generate your income. So out of the 17,000, almost 14,000 they are able to commission. So now basically they are going to start earning revenue on that. That is a good sign. So when a person investor taking to look into account of that, that means that is basically a thumbs up. That means they will go for an investment, for more investment of this company, because they will understand the company is going to earn more money. Okay. And then you will have a better return on your equity. Right?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Then what happened? Net sales were up by 20%, right? At 10,035 crores. And the PAT, that is profit after tax, rose by 21%. For the financial year 12, right? We expect PGCL to register a sales of 12,283 crores and a net profit of 3,934 crores for the financial year 2013. So what do you understand by that?
The sales were increased by 20% and the profit after tax, it also increased up to 21%.
So that means basically they're able to manage the operational expenses much better. So their PAT is increasing more than the revenue, right?
Yes, sir.
Next is that because they're able to commission a lot of their assets, we see that in the next financial, now I'm forecasting next financial year, I will have a better revenue. And if I have got a better revenue, higher revenue, my profit will also increase. So again, for an investor, that's a thumbs up. So like similarly for your smart city, if you can think through that year to year, there is an increase in the revenue, then the investors will also invest and you will get the loans at a lower interest. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is how we need to read financial statements.
Yes, sir.
So EPS, earning per share, works out to rupees 8.5. The share price trades at 112, which discounts the project for financial year 2013 EPS by 13.1 times, right? So this is basically another indicator. That's how basically the investors will look into what is the PE ratio, how much is the discounts, what for the future they're going to get it. And based on that, they will determine whether the prices will go up on share price or not. If the share prices goes up, right, they will also invest on that shares. And the company will get more funding at a lower interest if they can generate more income. Now, of course, I'm not going to take you through. This talks about the cash flow from operating expense activities, investing activities, and financial activities. Maybe if you want next class, I can walk you through what are the kind of activities in the cash flow and how it is generated. But at this moment, I'm skipping it to the next slide. So this is basically shows a performance indicator, right, for a company. Now, as you can see here, that so we want to discuss some more on this. So what you understand from this, from this company? Hello, student, what is your understanding from this statement for the 5 years?
The value of each share has increased, sir. which
Where you
has
see the value of the shares?
equity.
It is decreased, sir.
Where you seeing which line? Tell me the line where the equity, the equity. Okay, so where it is decreased, this is 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. So it has, the equity has increased now.
So
Increase.
equity has increases every year and net worth will be increases. When the equity shares are increases, the net worth automatically net worth also increases. What?
So yeah, so is it a good sign or a bad sign?
It is a good sign to the company, sir.
Very good.
And the
What are the things you are able to see?
Sir, capital employed. When the net worth is increases, the capital employed also increases in every year. The gross block is also increases. But the sales of every year that will be increases. When 11th
So
March.
here I can see some problem, right?
That one, yes, sir, that one. The
Yeah,
March
I can
11th,
see this one. This is not a good sign for that company.
Yeah. The
Right?
sales of the next, it is
Yes, sir.
fluctuated. The sales will be fluctuated in every year.
So that is not a good sign. And these are actual statement. If you see the company that has been taken, that is Oil India, just for your information, what I'm showing you. So these are actual facts for 5 years, right? So you can see what has happened due to the crude oil prices fluctuating so much, right? There, if you can see the sales as basically also fluctuating. So in 11, they made a good sales, right?
Yes, sir.
But if you see 13 and 12, the sales has come down.
Even though their sales have come down, the equity prices are increased, sir.
So where are you seeing the equity prices?
First column, equity. 601.
That is not the price. That is not the price. That is equity is not the price. That is basically the shares. I will show you. I will show the formula. What do you mean by equity? Equity is basically your capital, share capital plus your reserves that we call the equity. Okay. So that is increasing. That is a good sign, but this is not the share price in the market.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So here is basically, as you can see, the book value is increasing, but it has come down. So what do you understand by that? So till now it was increasing. Now suddenly your book value has come down. What do you understand by this?
Because of sales, sir.
Pardon?
Because of sale.
The sale is not going to impact your book value now. So why the book value has come down drastically? Tell me, any understanding? Any understanding on book value, why it has come down so much? Similarly, your EPS has come down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you see something? In this is your share capital, equity capital, right?
Yes.
It was having equal. That means in this year, either they have basically issued shares or there is a bonus share. Now, if the book value has come down, so that means the company has actually issued basically a bonus share. You can check with the Google and find it out whether this time Oil India has issued a bonus share or not. So this is how a finance will understand, finance guys. So that means there has been an issue of a bonus share and which has increased your share capital almost more than a double and your book value has come down. Are you understanding? This is how the statements are understood and are basically from the finance side, we provide our own inputs. Similarly, you can see the EPS has come down. Again, the EPS, that means this was increasing. That means your share capital has increased. And we can see here, the share capital has increased to 601 crore. Okay, where this is basically profit before tax. If you see the profit before tax, it's more or less increasing and it is every year. So there is no problem from the profit before tax.
Yes, sir.
Right. So that is how I'm just helping you to understand how it works. Okay, let's move on to the next. So again, let's go to the other one. So this is another, basically, but I want to take you to this thing. So here there is two companies, Vodafone, Idea Cellular, or MTNL. And what to understand between the three companies? What is the thought process? What do you understand? Yes, student. So what do you understand between the three companies? Which company you think is the best?
Vodafone is best, sir. Idea Cellular is something like that. But working capital is minus in Idea Cellular. Idea Cellular.
You have to tell me why you think so.
I think MTNL, sir.
You have to tell me why you think so.
They have greater network compared to other companies, and they are
Working
stable.
capital. So working capital also.
What else you can think through? What else you can think through? Which is better? Is Vodafone or MTNL? So nobody is talking about Idea Cellular. So everybody is thinking Idea Cellular is among the three is the worst.
The sales of Idea Cellular are more than other two companies.
So if you want to invest among the three of these companies, right? Which one you can, for example, you take three smart cities are there. As an investor, which one you going to invest if they provide you this kind of figures?
Which is more stable, sir.
So which one you think so? And why you think so?
Idea Cellular, sir.
So why you think Idea Cellular?
Because
So Idea Cellular
it has more profit.
So but working capital is less of Idea Cellular.
It has got more profit, but can you see what is the amount of equity, the share capital it is having?
Yes, sir.
2,635 equity shares. It will be deducted like bonus shares.
So if you see, that means its EPS, earning per share, will be much, much less, right?
Yes,
sir.
Compared to the both of them. So we can rule this out. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now
Yes, sir.
we can have Vodafone and MTNL. So now coming to Vodafone and MTNL, which one you think better?
Vodafone, sir.
Vodafone.
Yeah.
Sorry, MTNL, sir.
MTNL, if you see, it is 630, but its profit is 811
Yes, sir.
crores,
They are more
right?
profit.
So the EPS is more,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Compared to this, that means in
Yes,
the
sir.
market, this company will have, the value will be, the share price will be on the higher side.
So total assets are also more and fixed assets are also more, sir.
The
So that
sales.
is that's why the finance community will not look into, or the investor will not look into. Of course, that is there, but they will look into where the earning per share is high. So that means the share price will be on the higher side,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So this is basically another criteria of looking in where the EPS is on the, if we want to do investment based on the EPS, earning per share.
Yes, sir.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So just a thought process. I'm just giving you some thought process how in finance it works. Now, accounting is a system that provides information on amount of resources, right? How resources are financed, how where the resources invested, right? Result achieved by using these resources. So when you're doing your smart city, you have to, resources are limited. So you have to think through on this, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Then it has to be through what the finance we do. It has to be done through internal and external reporting. So for parties inside and outside the organization, inside means management and outside means to the shareholders, to the regulatory boards, right? Then who are the accounting data users? These are the internal users and these are the external
External
users.
users.
Who are the internal users?
The
This is the finance
management.
guys, marketing, management, and human resources.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Who are the external users?
Tax authorities.
Tax authorities, so government or public.
Right? So now you are having the information who are basically your internal users, who are your external users, isn't it?
Yes.
Now tell me, for example, bank will be your internal user or external user?
Sir, external user, sir.
Okay. Now, basically the CEO of the company is an internal user or external user?
Sorry.
Internal user, sir.
Good. Now, for example, you have the marketing head. You want some information. So he will be internal user or external user?
Internal, sir.
Internal user.
Now you have the analyst reporting, like you have got the Gartners or others, Reuters. So they will be internal or external?
External.
External.
Good. So you are aware of what is internal and external. Very good. Now there's a question. Can we afford to give our employees a pay raise? So who are the users? These are the internal users that are asking the question. So who will be the user for this? Tell me. So can we afford to give our employees a pay raise? So who is basically going to be the user for this information?
It is internal user, sir.
Management.
It is the human resources, right? HR.
Yes, sir.
In your, which is the department? HR department will take this, now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question. What price for our product will maximize net income?
Marketing department.
Finance, sir.
Any others? So one is marketing, one is finance. Any other?
Management.
Okay, let's see. Who says marketing is absolutely correct?
Well, sir.
Very good. Next is, which product line is most profitable?
So finance.
Finance. Marketing.
So I got marketing, one got finance. Any other?
But marketing.
Finance.
It is the management. The top management, they will be interested to have this information because based on that product line, they will invest further or they will divert their resources because resources are limited, right? So that they will divert the resources for that product line to increase further profit and further sales, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is cash sufficient to pay dividend to the stakeholders?
Finance.
Who is going to? Any other?
Finance, sir. Finance, sir.
Finance department.
Correct. It's finance. So now you are all getting it. So very good, right? Okay. Now I go to the next. Is the company earning satisfactory income?
Finance, sir.
Any other department?
Management.
Finance, sir.
Management, sir.
Finance.
Any other?
Management.
Management, sir.
It is the investors, right? Because the investors, what they're doing, they're investing money in your company. They will look for higher return in the form of dividends or increase in the share price, right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question. How does Vodafone compare in size and profitability with MTNL? You have seen that.
Financial statement done by the editor, sir.
Financial statement, sir.
Management, sir.
It is the investors. Again.
Compare.
Right? Because they will try to compare and they will try to invest. I was telling you, as an investor, they will go and look into the EPS, right? Earning per share or return on the capital invested, ROC. And based on that, they will take a call. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
next question. Will Yes Bank be able to pay its debts as they come due?
Finance.
Government, sir. Authorities.
It is the creditors. So creditors has given loan to the bank, isn't it? So they will be interested to know whether that company, here take it Yes Bank or any bank or any corporate, whether they have got the payable capability to pay that loan or not. If they don't have the capability, right, what will happen? The prices will come down. So
Yes.
you will find is that if I take a loan, right, I take a loan of maybe 10 lakhs, right? I should have the paying capacity to pay the loan. If I don't have the paying capacity to pay the loan, then of course what happens? My credibility comes down. The credit score comes down,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
when I go for a next loan, what will happen? I will get at a higher rate of interest.
Yes.
Or people will say, I don't want to give to Sabyasachi because his credit score is very low, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So this is how it is helpful. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is basically all businesses are involved in 3 types of activity. What is financing, investing, and operating, right? So the accounting systems keeps track of the result of each of these business activities. So whatever the smart city you're going to create, it will be based on of these 3. Either you are doing financing, investing, or operating. Okay. And it has to, the accounting has to, system has to manage that. So let me take you through the accounting system, how it does. So you got economic activities, right? The smart city will have some economic activities, for example, finance, investment, operation. Then you have the accounting process. Then accounting information will be there. Financial statements need to be prepared based on that. Decision makers will be take decisions, right? And what happened? You will have accounting will connect to the decision makers with economic activities, and cycle continues, and this will continue and continue for every year, every month, every day, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So who are from finance in this class? Anybody from finance background?
Yes, sir.
No,
So,
sir.
is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now what is happening? Creating accounting heads, right? You have got assets, you have got liabilities, you've got equity, income, and expenses. Now, this is question to my finance friends, students. So you will see, you create basically income and expenditure or profit and loss. That is your basically the operating part of it. Now you have the balance sheet that shows your assets and liability. Left-hand side is assets and the right-hand side shows your liability. Or what it does, or left-hand side, if you take it, left-hand side is the liabilities and right-hand side is your asset, which is correct?
Sir, assets and liabilities.
I'm asking you who are from finance background, which is correct? Left-hand side, what it says?
Assets, sir.
Left is liability, right is
It's,
assets.
right, left-hand side is liabilities, starting with basically your share capital, right? Then basically it shows your reserve and surplus. Then basically your current liabilities, right? That is how it is shown. And on the right-hand side, it comes with the fixed assets. Basically, if you have got land, then building, and that is how. Then basically, based on that, it will be shown on the right-hand side. If you have got goodwill, it will show the goodwill also, then current assets. And this is how it will show the inventories. If you've got inventory, that will be shown, right? So this is how your asset and liability is shown. And basically, in the profit and loss, you will have basically your whatever the overall expenses and income you will get at the net of it. Either it will be a profit or it will be a loss, and that will be carried forward to the balance sheet, right? Either as a reserve after paying the dividend, whatever it is left out, or it will be shown as a loss. And from overall, basically reserve, if you are having, it will be getting decreased, and over owner's equity, what is there, it will be clubbing your basically share capital plus your reserve and surplus will show as the owner's equity. Okay, that is how it is shown. Now, every entry has got a debit and credit. So whatever the sum of debit should match with the sum of the credit in finance. That's what we call the golden rule of accounting or the double entry system. Next is your accounting equation, and that is how it is done, is basically assets equal to owner's equity plus liabilities. So in another way, basically whole left-hand side is nothing but your share capital plus reserve and surplus plus your liabilities. So that is overall is your assets, isn't it?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So if I go from other side is the resources financed by business creditors plus lenders plus capital borrowed by owners, right? Next is basically the resources invested in fixed assets plus investments and current assets. That is basically from the right-hand side, from the asset side. Then finally, what we can say is that left-hand side equal to the right-hand side. Any question?
No, sir.
Hello, student, any question?
No, sir.
Now, what are the elements measuring financial position? One is assets, one is liabilities, one is equities, right? From asset sides, if there is an increase in the assets, maybe next slide, if you want, I will just walk you through also how we can see based on the assets, we can think through whether the company is doing well, the balance sheet. From the liabilities, if they can manage the liabilities better, that means the company is doing well. And of course, the equity, if the equity is increasing, the owner's capital, then it is really good. Not only if the share capital, that is basically the paid up capital is increasing, that is not that great, but if the reserve and surplus is increasing, that is really good. Next, from the elements measuring the performance is basically the revenue or the income that include gains, and basically the expenses that includes losses. Any question on this slide?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Move on to the next. This is basically how a balance sheet looks like. So you can see you have got basically liabilities, right? And assets, right? So this is how it is done. So you have the comparison. So if you go to the liabilities, it is basically you have the what? You have the share capital, you have the retained earnings, that is called the total owner's equity. You have the accounts payable or creditors, that is, and short-term bank loans if you have got, or accrued expenses, and long-term debts, right? The long-term borrowings if you have got. So that is total external liability, is the long-term debts and the total current liabilities, including these three. And that overall should match to your assets in the top. So you can have the fixed assets, that is basically overall asset minus your depreciation, provide your net fixed assets. And into the current assets, you have the cash, you have the bank balance, you have the receivables and the inventories, and that should match. So that means your left-hand side should match to the right-hand side. And this is your income statement. You have got the sales, you have got the COGS, that is a cost of goods sold, then other expenses, if any, that is basically earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and adjustments, right? Then you got depreciation and amortization. Then you got debit, that is earning before interest and tax. Then you have got interest expenses, and this is basically earning before tax. And you have got the taxes, and this is your net income. And out of which they have paid able to pay this amount of dividend, right? And this becomes your retained earning. And this retained earning, what will happen? It will come into the add into your retained earning here. Whatever the retained earning is there, it will come and add into here. So you can see, if you can see the difference, you will find this is the amount of difference that has come. Just for your example. Any question on this? So you understood how basically income expenses to balance sheet, how it works, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? So I just wanted to make you clear on this point. Now, assets are probable future economic benefits. Liabilities are probable future sacrifices for the economic benefits. And equity is the residual interest in assets of an entity that remains under deducting its liabilities, right? In business enterprises, the equity is the ownership interest, right? So that is how I wanted to mention it from the finance today. This is all I wanted to give you today. So there is another 4 minutes left. I just wanted to check with you if you have got any question. I hope all of you understood because you were asking about finance. And I just wanted to give you a high level on finance, how it is done. Any question?
Sir, this is Ravi from Vaishali Computer.
Pardon?
Sir.
Sorry, yes.
Sir, this is Ravi from Vaishali Computer. My question is the difference between repo rate and reverse repo rate.
Can you please repeat the question again, please?
Sir, please elaborate the repo rate and the reverse repo rate. Bank repo rate and bank reverse
Yes.
repo rate.
Yeah.
Please elaborate
So
that.
Okay, so basically at the rate the bank is able to give the loan, right? The repo rates. And basically next is that the central bank provides a loan to the bank, and they mentioned that this is the repo rate, I will provide you the loan.
Yes, sir.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So based on that, see, repo rate basically is the rate at which the central bank of the country, right, lends money to the commercial banks. And any event of shortfalls, or if anything happens, then what happens? And so this is the rate the central bank provides the loan to the commercial banks. Right?
Yes, sir.
And reverse repo rate is the rate in which the Reserve Bank of India borrows from the bank for the short term. Now, when they require fund, right? Now,
Yes,
central
sir.
bank also requires some fund, isn't
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes, sir.
So what they do, they will say from the commercial bank, I will borrow it. So what then understand what is happening, the impact to the overall society. When the
Yes, sir.
Reserve Bank borrows from the commercial bank, that means the money is taken out from the system. Okay. Then the system get less money. So they want to control inflation. When they're providing at a repo rate to the commercial bank, that means money flowing into the commercial bank. See, that means there is money in the market, isn't it? So
Yes,
that means the inflation rate will go up, or they will be much easier to get the availability of that fund for the corporate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the fiscal policy. Basically, our finance minister performs, or the Reserve Bank head performs to control overall banking finance system and controlling the inflation and overall finance of the country, right?
Yes.
So, okay. So great. Thank you everybody for participating today and providing very good questions. And I wish you a nice Sunday, and we'll talk next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.